Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ballet and Beyond podcast, where we interview current and former professionals, teachers, patrons, and more from the world of ballet and dance. You'll get insight from top dancers and instructors in the industry, as well as local performers and educators as they talk about their experiences in the business. I'm your host today, Pete Commander. If you're from the greater Baltimore area, don't forget to check out Charm City Ballet, located in Cockeysville, where we offer classes for all dancers ages 3 through adult. Visit www.charmcityballet.com for information on classes, auditions, and upcoming performances. This is our second episode of Ballet and Beyond, and today's guest is former Washington Ballet soloist Rebecca Voelpel. Becca trained at the Kirov Academy as well as Maryland Youth Ballet and was featured in the award-winning 2011 documentary First Position. After high school, Becca became a company member at Washington Ballet before pursuing higher education at Towson University. She currently resides in Baltimore and is a guest teacher at local studios and schools. Becca, thanks so much for talking to us today. So we'll start with First Position. In what ways did life as a dancer change after the film was released?
Yeah, so I feel like my dance life was mostly affected by it. Most people in the quote real world, didn't really know about the documentary. So mostly my dance life is where that effect came from, because it was kind of like a celebrity situation in a way. It was just hard to go on auditions for various companies and colleges and people not to know who I was. So I had this weird kind of standard to live up to that I wasn't quite prepared for. A lot of people would say, oh, they saw it. Did you like how you were portrayed, or things like that? And that started to get to me a little bit, because, then it had me thinking, what do I mean? This is a great experience. And so I just wasn't so used to people recognizing me and, having maybe like a negative connotation about that, or some kind of standard that they had created in their mind about what that was like for me. So mostly the dance world was interesting to feel from that.
So what were some of the things that, being part of that project, what were some of the things that you sort of learned about yourself and about, the dance world that you didn't know before you had done that?
Yeah, so I definitely learned about reality TV. I did not realize that things were as prompted as they were. I know you hear those things all the time, but it really is like that. And I can remember at one point we were at YAGP Nationals, and that's when they were following most of us around. And we were all kind of saying to each other, "Oh, look, they're over here! Hurry, run the other way!" Because we were kind of just over the cameras in that moment. We were just pretty much done with it. So it was an interesting little camaraderie that we built. But it just taught me how conscious I needed to be about how I came off to other people and other dancers. I think from that experience, I learned to not be maybe as judgmental. It helped me just to think about my words and my actions before doing them. Helped me see some situations from other perspectives that I wasn't aware of before. I was very in a bubble in this small town USA situation. So I wasn't aware of how ballet affected other people. So definitely changed my perspective on the world and the dance world around me, for sure.
How did being part of the documentary affect your career decisions as far as dance is concerned? Or did it affect, I guess I should ask, did it affect your career decisions?
Yeah, I'm not sure that it had a direct effect on it. I mean, I definitely saw some of the glamour and the glitz and the benefits that the ballet and dance world could give me if I was just willing to work for it. But I don't know that it changed my career path. I think I would have kind of followed that route had I been in the documentary world or not. That's just where I was at that moment in my life. And it just kind of fit really easily. So I think that it just kind of, I don't know that it deterred me or made me do something differently looking back on it.
Okay. And then, so you graduated high school and auditioned for Washington Ballet. Is that accurate?
Yep. So I was at Maryland Youth Ballet and a smaller jazz and tap studio called Spotlight Studio of Dance.
Okay.
So I was doing that, going to high school and then leaving at like 10:30 to drive to Silver Spring to go to Maryland Youth Ballet. And then right from there, going to another studio. So dance was like really my life, obviously. So right after high school, I kind of didn't feel like I fit in with the other kids. I didn't miss out on any of the big things, if you will, prom, homecoming, things like that. But I wasn't like hanging out at Chick-fil-A
Right,
or
right.
anything after school. I was, putting leotard tights, point shoes, done. Let's go. Like let's hit the studio. So I just was in a different world, and I didn't feel like the kids in school. I didn't feel like we had the same goals. So obviously, my goal was, I want to be in this dance world. I want to be a professional ballet dancer. So Washington Ballet again really just made sense. It was close to where I'm from. So I could still have some of those pieces of my life that I was used to and comfortable with, but without having to stay in this, high school, college kind of world, because I thought I had wanted to break out of that. So
Right. Right. So was life in a professional company what you expected it to be, sort of what you had built it up to be?
absolutely not. Again, referencing the glamour and the glitz. I mean, there was some of that, but it is tough. I mean, that is just hard work. It's just constant hustle. And I think the thing that I really started to not like about it was the relationship aspect of it. So you hear those horror stories of people, I don't even know, glass in the point shoes or whatever, but it was more so just like, the people that I wanted to be friends with, and because I've always been a social person, are now my competitors, and yet we have to dance together in the core, but we're also fighting for that one soloist spot. So it just became very difficult to build relationships with your coworkers without, giving up something that you want and something that you're striving to do. So that became really difficult. And I think that's part of the reason why it was not for me. I couldn't handle that pressure. I couldn't handle that. I mean, and then aside from the relationship aspect of it, it's, dancing all day, performing all night, going home, doing it again. And like I said, I lived at home. So I was on a first company member salary. So my choice was to save money, live at home. And the commute was 2 hours one way. So that took on me too. And I think it was just a number of things that I was like, wow, this is not what I thought. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a fabulous experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I got to do and see so many things and perform for some really awesome people on cool stages, and, perform ballets that, were everything. It was awesome, but it was definitely not exactly how I had pictured it in my head. That's for sure.
Right. And so you went back to school. You went to Towson?
Yep, Towson University. So both of my parents went there, and again, it was comfortable. I had a few offers to be in a dance department environment in other schools, but for me, it didn't make sense. I had already done that and figured out I didn't want to choose that path. So what else scared me kind of about the ballet and dance world was the monetary aspect of it, in that I was afraid of what was I going to do when I was 30 years old and maybe didn't have an education, and then where would my career take me? So in a way, I kind of got spooked, and I was just like, let's go college route, let's join the dance team. What's more fun than dancing at football games in front of all these people? So I needed that fun brought back into dance for me. I think I had lost some of that because it became, my job, and I had lost some of that love and passion for it. So I after going to Towson, it allowed me to find that fun aspect of it that I kind of forgot. So.
And what was your major? What's your degree in?
It is healthcare administration.
Okay. Were you involved at all with the dance department there? Or did you decide just to separate that out and keep it separate?
I have friends who were in there, so yeah, I did decide to keep it out for my own path. I really just wanted to find that fun again. I mean, that's what was missing for me. And I knew I loved it. I knew it was there. It just kind of got lost when I had made it my whole world and didn't have anything else.
Right.
So I had to find that. So yeah, long story short, separated from the dance department. I took some drop-in classes here and there, but the dance team was pretty tough, so that consumed most of my time.
If you could talk to your 10 years younger self, what would you tell her? What kind of things, I guess, as far as like pathway, would you maybe have done a little bit differently, or would you recommend for someone else to do?
I feel like everybody's different. I wouldn't do anything differently. I mean, I had a really cool upbringing. I went to, the Kirov in DC, which was an amazing experience that taught me to, grow up at a young age and be resilient, and, that I can do this by myself, and, caused friction in my household when I was in high school. Suddenly at a curfew, and I was like, no, I live on my own. So no, I got to experience a lot of really, really neat things that the typical student and maybe even dancer doesn't participate in. So I think if I could talk to my younger self, I would just say, to be confident. I think it's hard to find that confidence when you're constantly being like corrected in the dance studio. So I think, taking that with a grain of salt and recognizing that, this is temporary. I'm not going to be getting corrected for this forever, or I'm not going to be getting this feedback forever. Just being confident in those things, and that you're doing the right thing for you. I think a lot of times, especially with social media, I'm lucky I didn't have that growing up, so I didn't have that influence on me. But I think now it can be very difficult and daunting for people to look and say, oh, well, so-and-so did it this way, I have to do it that way. And that's just not how, at least my path was. And it's not how I was really brought up either. My parents definitely gave me the freedom to explore, which was lovely. But yeah, I mean, looking back, I don't think I would do much else differently. I learned from every single thing that I went through. Those moments that, broke me down and, hurt a little bit, it definitely made me stronger in the end. And I think what's funny now, like even in a corporate environment or, in my personal life, if something makes me nervous, I always just look back to the things that I've previously done. And I think to myself, wow, if I can dance on that stage, or if I can overcome that, nerve-wracking moment, then yeah, I can do this. Like this is teeny in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I think everything that I went through, good, bad, ugly, definitely helped mold me into the person, professionally, personally, teacher that I am today.
So you mentioned teacher. What are you doing? What are you doing now? I know you're teaching locally, but talk to us about where and what and how.
So aside from guest teaching at a few fun summer intensives and things like that this summer, I teach fitness classes. So that's kind of how I keep myself in, dancer shape, if you will. I fell into bar a couple years ago, and I absolutely love it. So I teach Soul Body Bar all over the Baltimore area. I teach at Brick Bodies, Padonia. And I also teach like pop-up events in the city, in Baltimore City. So we'll do like a bar and yoga class, or a bar and brew, or anything that's kind of fun, getting the community engaged in fitness. I think that will be my next challenge and endeavor, is trying to find a way to get the community excited and caring about fitness. So
excellent.
We'll see.
Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today and being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome.
If you haven't already, go check out First Position wherever you get your movies. It gives great insight into the life of young dancers and is a great resource for anyone who isn't familiar with the world of ballet. This episode was brought to you by Charm City Ballet. If you live in the greater Baltimore area, don't forget to check out Charm City Ballet, located in Cockeysville. Visit www.charmcityballet.com for information on classes, auditions, and upcoming performances. Next week, we have ABT company member Alex Basmagi on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving Ballet and Beyond a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. For questions and guest requests, please email us at balletandbeyondpodcast@gmail.com. I'm your host, Pete Commander. Thanks for listening.